What's going on, people? This is Shok, and I know a lot of you guys are wondering why am I uploading this on ShokioZone. That is because I'm sure my subscribers are tired of me talking about this on my main channels. This has always been one of the purposes that ShokioZone has served, so that's why this video is on this channel. Hopefully, I intend for this to be my last video regarding this matter, right? Because we have people who still do not understand the overall point. People still focus on this one thing, and we have people saying things, arguing against things that were never debated. That was never put up for discussion. See what I'm saying? But this is a response to Rendy, Nintendo, everybody in the comments, everybody, right? And no rage or nothing, you know. Nintendo, you know, he doesn't agree with me. He's over there, you know, kind of in the apologist camp, but I still respect the dude overall. I think he does good vids, you know. And the reason why I respect him is because I know he sees, right? I know he understands. But just like a lot of people in this Nintendo community, a lot of people are scared to come out. I'm talking about in that camp, right? A lot of people are scared to admit that they agree with me because they don't want to be seen as, oh, he's with Shokio, and they don't want to be shunned. They don't want to be put on the, you know, the marked list because I'm seen as this black sheep of the Nintendo community, you know what I'm saying, in that particular community. But anyways, let's get into the video, right? So, basically, one of the main things people are saying is that it will still be, we're talking about 3D World here. This is about the whole Nintendo and online things and whatnot. 3D World will still be a great game without online, Shokio. Who said otherwise, people? Nobody said otherwise. We have people going around making it seem like I'm saying 3D World is not a viable game. It's not a viable purchase. It doesn't count. It doesn't exist to me because it doesn't have online. Nobody is saying that. And I don't know where you guys are pulling that out of. Gaming has survived without online for like, you know, 25 years or whatever. Yes! Nobody is saying online is a requirement. Nobody's saying these games are not games if they don't have online. Obviously, gaming has been around before online. Obviously. I lived it. You see what I'm saying? I lived before online existed. People, stop thinking that. That is not what anybody who agrees with me is saying. And we're not saying it's not worth $60 because it's not online. 3D World is worth $60. It is. I'd pay $70 for it, right? So nobody is saying that online is needed for it to be considered a viable product to purchase or for it to be considered a viable game. Nobody is saying that. And here's my next point, right? Guys, I already got my 3D Rage out in the first video I did on it, right? You guys thought that this latest video was about 3D World having online more than it was about you guys simply being wrong in the overall message. And I'm going to spell the overall message out for you guys, for those of you who still don't understand it. Because you guys are still stuck on 3D World doesn't need online. It doesn't need online. It doesn't need online. It doesn't need online. Fuck 3D World for a second, right? And pay attention to what 3D World not having online means as a whole. Because you guys are just looking at it, what it means as the game. You guys looking at it on a game-to-game basis. And that's the problem. And that is the problem. With New Super Mario Bros. Wii, you guys said, oh, you know, it's just one game. It's New Super Mario Bros. Wii, you know, it doesn't really need online, whatever. And then Wii Sports Resort. No, you know, whatever, it's just one game. Right? And then New Super Mario Bros. U. Oh, whatever, it's just one game. Nintendo Land. Oh, whatever, it's just one game. But you see the pattern here? You keep saying it's just one game 1,000 times. And that's what I mean. Look at the big picture. 3D World not having online is more than just that particular game not having online. It means another multiplayer focused Nintendo game not having online. That's what that means. That is the big picture, people. Do you see what I'm saying? It's a constant, continual thing. It's a continued thing. That is the point. Now, if all these other Nintendo games had online and 3D World didn't, yes, I would still complain. But I would not have gone on as long about it as I have now. You see what I'm saying? And the complaining wouldn't have been so bad. Because I would have still known that Nintendo was taking online seriously. If New Super Mario Bros. U was online and Nintendo Land was online and then 3D World wasn't, I would say, yeah, it sucks that 3D World doesn't have online. But obviously, Nintendo has shown that they care because they have Nintendo Land and New Super Mario Bros. U. But those games don't have online when they should have. So that is the problem, guys. It's the continued exclusion of online that is the problem. It's not just the single game itself. I mean, yes, that is a problem, but it's not, it wouldn't be as big as a problem as it is now. Because you would think that Nintendo's biggest franchise, where they have a multiplayer focused iteration, that they would use that as an example of their new Nintendo network of having an online game, right? But no. 3D World, alongside these other games that do not have online, all together, looking at the big picture, shows that Nintendo is not focused on online. And that is the point. You guys are so stuck, specifically tunnel vision on 3D World. You see what I'm saying? And you're not looking at what 3D World not having online represents as a whole. You're not looking at the big overall picture. Now, another defense is, well, Mario has always been a single player focused series. Really, people, that's funny, because I could have swore back in the 2D days, right, it offered multiplayer. Of course, it wasn't at the same time, but still, it had multiplayer. But you guys can make the argument, and I'm sure you will, that you mean the 3D, the main 3D titles. Okay, fair enough. Okay, that's fair. That's legit. You're only talking about the 3D. Okay, that's cool. Although, Nintendo planned to do multiplayer with Mario 64. They put in multiplayer on Mario 64 3D. And even if the franchise, I mean it is, the 3D Marios have been single player, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if all the previous versions have been single player. If this particular game is multiplayer focused, if they're making such a big deal out the multiplayer, right? It's a selling point of the game. Hey, multiplayer, 4 people at the same time, Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Toad, right? They're making such a big deal of it. Multiplayer is a huge focus of this game. It should be online in 2013, people. Period. That's not good enough for you? Well, let me give you guys another example. Let me throw your argument out the window again. Right? 3D Mario is known as a single player series, right? So we shouldn't expect, even if it is a multiplayer iteration, we still shouldn't expect it to be online because 3D Mario is a single player franchise, right? So, name me the only online multiplayer Metroid game. Exactly. Metroid Prime Hunters. Why was Metroid Prime Hunters online, people? Because it was multiplayer focused. But wait, that shouldn't have been online because Metroid was a single player franchise, right? Always been a single player franchise. See, even Retro understands, hey guys, if we're going to make something multiplayer focused, if we're going to put so much emphasis on the multiplayer, we should throw this bitch online. And that's what Retro did. Thank you, Retro Studios. You get it. So this whole 3D Mario has always been single player, that's not a legitimate argument. I don't care if something is a single player series, if that game is multiplayer focused, then that game needs to be online in this day and age, people. If a DS game that came back out in when did Metro Prime Hunters come out? 06, 07? Somewhere there on the DS? That was online, and Metroid was previously known as a single player series. The only multiplayer it ever had, if I'm thinking of all the games at once here, if I'm getting everything, the only multiplayer was in Metro Prime Hunters 2, which was just tacked on, and Retro never put an emphasis on it, and they never made it a selling point, and of course it was on the GameCube, and the 6th gen systems weren't really big on online like that, you know what I mean? They didn't even have networks like that back then. So, that's the only time. But we can't expect 3D World to have online, because all the other 3D Marios have been single player. Although Metroid is also single player, yet its multiplayer focused game in the series was put online. For a reason. For a reason. And again, it's no longer complaining about 3D World not having online, people. At this point, it's purely about you guys and how you guys aren't understanding what we are saying. We're no longer focused on the fact that 3D World doesn't have online. Like, it's not just that. We're not looking at just the game. We're not talking about on the game basis. We are talking about Nintendo's mindset. That's what this is about. Overall, people. And you guys are failing to understand this. You're failing to understand this. And then we have some people saying, why are we still complaining about the online when the game's about to come out? That's what I'm saying. We're no longer complaining about the game not having online. We're complaining about your guys' inability to understand what we were saying, and we're talking about the mindset overall. We're not expecting Nintendo to throw in online at the last second. We're not saying that. 3D World doesn't have online. Nintendo said they're not going to do online. We accepted that a long time ago, people, so there's no reason to continually harp about that. Something that's not going to change. You see what I'm saying? So that should tell you right there, maybe it's more than just 3D World they're talking about here. But that's what we're talking about. We're talking about what that game, their flagship franchise, a multiplayer iteration of their flagship franchise, not having online on their new next-gen Nintendo Network HD system. And what that means, what that entails, and what that stands for. That is what we are saying. That is what we are saying, people. It's as simple as that. Now lastly, the last line of defense. Let me break through this last barrier. Kid Icarus was online, right? The last story was online. Luigi's Mansion was online. I'll say it again. I said it in the comments. These are games that are not made by Nintendo. They are owned by Nintendo, published, but they are not actually made by internal Nintendo studios. Luigi's Mansion 2 was made by Next Level. They are not a Nintendo studio. Kid Icarus was made by Sora. Sora is not an internal Nintendo studio. Do you see the point I'm making here? Same goes for Smash. Smash having online, guys, that was Sakurai's decision. Because people were asking for online. That's where that last delay came from. That last delay on Brawl came from him incorporating the online because fans were like, hey, this needs to be online, this needs to be online. And he went and tried to put in some quick online. That was Sakurai's decision. Nintendo tried to make the point that, oh yeah, sir, yeah, sure, those aren't internal Nintendo studios, but you don't think Nintendo had to do with the online? No, Nintendo didn't have anything to do with the online of those games. Guys in the comment section listing The Last Story and Monolith X as games, Nintendo games that have online or whatever, although, like I just made the point, they're not actually made by internal Nintendo studios. So, wait, Nintendo. You mean to tell me Nintendo has something to do with The Last Story having online? You mean to tell me Nintendo told Mistwalker, a company who is their own, they're their own company. Mistwalker can develop on other systems if they want to. They have Lost Odyssey on the 360, right? You mean to tell me Nintendo went to Mistwalker, an RPG company who's making an RPG. You mean to tell me Nintendo told them to make online for The Last Story? No! Okay? No! That makes no sense. You mean to tell me Nintendo went to Monolith and said, hey, your next game on Wii U, you need to make it online? No! Why would Nintendo request that of RPGs, right? For Luigi's Mansion. You mean to tell me Luigi's Mansion, which was previously a single-player franchise, you mean to tell me Nintendo approached them and told you, hey, you better make this online? No! That doesn't make any sense. Why would Nintendo Kid Icarus? You mean to tell me they approached Sakurai and told Sakurai he needs to make that online? This is essentially, at least in my eyes, it's kind of a new IP. Of course, there's 2 Kid Icarus games before, but that was back in the Super Nintendo days and Game Boy, whatever. But you mean to tell me they went to Sakurai and said you need to put Kid Icarus online? No, that was essentially a new IP. That's a franchise revival of a previously single-player franchise, right? We had no expectations, no standards of Kid Icarus. You see what I'm saying? And it's on the 3DS, so online multiplayer is kind of less expected for handheld titles than it is console titles. You know what I'm saying? We had no expectations, no standards. Kid Icarus would have been single player. Everybody would have been cool with that. Why would somebody say, why isn't Kid Icarus multiplayer? When it's essentially a brand new IP is being revived and the previous games were single player. You see what I'm saying? That wouldn't make any sense. So no, online in Kid Icarus was Sakurai's personal decision. It's as simple as that. Nintendo bought Monolith. They own Monolith, right? But they don't tell Monolith what to do. Notice when Nintendo bought Monolith, guess what? Monolith still does their Xeno games. They still do what they want to do. Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, Nintendo didn't tell Retro to do that. Miyamoto said himself, Retro wanted to do Tropical Freeze. So that's what I'm saying when I mean these games are not made by internal Nintendo Studios. You really can't really credit Nintendo for those particular games having online because Nintendo really doesn't have reign over whether or not those games will have online. If those developers, if those respective studios want online in their games, they will do it. You see what I'm saying? Nintendo didn't tell these people to throw their games online. Why would they? Why would Nintendo tell freaking the Mistwalker and Monolith RPG creators, right? Why would they tell them to put online into their games and Nintendo has these multiplayer games that they have and they're not putting online to those, but they're telling people to put it online into RPGs, a genre which is known to be strictly a single player genre, unless of course you're talking about MMOs, but any non-MMO RPG has been pretty much single player for the most part. RPGs are known as a single player franchise. Now we're starting to get a few more here and there that have online co-op and whatnot, but RPGs have always been known as a single player franchise. A single player, genre, right? So Nintendo, that makes no sense. You mean to tell me Nintendo didn't have anything to do with those games that I have online? That's exactly what I'm telling you. Because it wouldn't make sense for Nintendo to tell those studios about those particular games to have online. We know Sakurai did Brawl online because he wanted to. Why would Nintendo tell him to do Kid Icarus online? We had no standards. We had no expectations of Kid Icarus. Why would Nintendo tell them to put online into RPGs? That makes no sense. Why would they tell them to do it to Luigi's Mansion? That is on a handheld that was previously known as a single player series. Because the first game was just single player. Nintendo had nothing to do with those games having online. The only thing I could think of that Nintendo legit said, hey, you need to put this online is Wii Sports Club, which is being outsourced to Namco. That's probably the only thing I could give y'all is Wii Sports Club, which makes sense considering that it is a internal Nintendo game. They're just outsourcing the porting. So, that's why they probably, have more, involvement with that because it's their game. It's their baby, so they want to look over it. See what I'm saying? I'm sure they put that online on purpose, right? Yeah, but that's pretty much it. That is pretty much it. There's one other thing I wanted to address, but I forgot what it was. Goddamn, and I don't want to end this video because I know if I end this video right now, I'm gonna remember it, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to get back in the chair and then edit it, and add the video and things of that nature. I forgot what it freaking was. Whatever, but yeah, people, that's pretty much it. Hopefully now you guys understand what I'm saying. This is no longer, it was never just about 3D World, see what I'm saying? In the video where I talked specifically about 3D World, yes, that was about 3D World, but any other videos following that, guys, it's more about 3D World and more about the overall mindset of Nintendo. Guys, this month, tomorrow, it's pretty much the Wii U has been out for a year. We haven't had a single online Nintendo experience together. It's taking 2 years to get an online Nintendo experience. Think about that. They finally have a dedicated network, and we cannot enjoy our Nintendo games together. Think about that. Nintendo could, after the 2014 games Mario Kart, Monolith X, and Smash, as of 2014, Nintendo could put out no online games for the rest of the Wii U's life cycle, and I legit think you guys would be okay with that. And that's kind of crazy. And that's kind of scary that you guys would be okay with that, guys. I just don't understand, but hopefully now you guys get it. That's it for this video, y'all. I'll see you guys later. Peace. Alright, so I just remembered what that last point was supposed to be, and it's this. Another thing people have been saying is that excluding online is not a negative thing. It doesn't hurt Nintendo or the game in any shape, form, or fashion. That is false. Star Fox 64 3D's sales were gimped because that game did not have online. A lot of people are no longer planning to buy Mario Party 3DS because it does not have online. Wii Lover said he's not buying that game online. This is Wii Lover. This is a hardcore Mario and Nintendo enthusiast who is not purchasing Mario Party 3DS because it does not have online. And many other Nintendo fans feel the exact same way about that game. Mario 3D World, yes, it'll sell 10 million units regardless, but even that would sell more if it had online, people. People like online because online equals longevity. It means more life for the game. Online means you're getting more bang for your buck. 3D World will have more value as a $60 game if it was a $60 game with online. It's as simple as that. So yes, excluding online does have negative effects on the games and Nintendo. Nintendo would make more money if they put more games online.